natural river that runs through the building. How many buildings do we know of that have that kind of energy just pulsating constantly through? Just behind the property, we do have a cemetery that allegedly has possibly 1,200 bodies buried back there. There's just something very unique about this property. We could go on and on. It's a universe of itself. Every single room here has a story.
All right, going on there. All right, 10-4. What the fuck is nuts?
Before the establishment of modern social welfare programs, poorhouses, also known as almshouses, were institutions that were created in the 19th century to provide assistance to the poor and homeless. These institutions were meant to be a place of last resort for those who were unable to support themselves, and they were often run by local governments or charitable organizations. Poorhouses were typically Spartan, overcrowded, and lacking in amenities, with residents subjected to strict rules and harsh treatment. One such poorhouse was the Fairfield County Infirmary, located in Lancaster, Ohio. The facility opened in 1828 and operated for over 150 years until its closing in 1985. During its long history, the infirmary housed thousands of residents, many of whom lived out their final days there. It experienced the same issue many other almshouses faced during its operation, including negligence, abuse, and mistreatment of its residents. Today, the former infirmary is a historic site that offers a glimpse into the lives of those who were once housed there. The site is mostly restored with furnished rooms, as well as restored living quarters and a cemetery where many of the residents were buried. The Fairfield County Infirmary serves as a reminder of a bygone era, when caring for the poor and elderly was often left to the generosity of local communities. Its owner, Adam Kimmel, takes us through the facility and shares detailed information about its history and what went on behind its walls.
My name is Adam Kimmel. I'm the owner of the Fairfield County Infirmary out here in Lancaster, Ohio. I've been investigating the paranormal for over 12 years. And as we travel across the country, there are a lot of locations that call out to us. And I had been here in 2018 for an investigation, and there is just something very unique about this property. Some things to note, especially from a paranormal standpoint, is there is a natural river that runs through the building. I mean, how many buildings do we know of that have that kind of energy just pulsating constantly through? The second thing that I noticed was just behind the property, we do have a cemetery that allegedly has possibly 1,200 bodies buried back there. But on the hill, there was a developer that was looking to buy this prior to myself, and when he did the ground penetrating radar out there, they found multiple anomalies, over 1,000 different anomalies, and they realized that those are actually unmarked, buried individuals. Because of that, he had to run away from the project. But you do have a lot of dead that are at unrest. And think about it, at the turn of the century, and even farther back, there were displaced individuals here. And if you did not have a family that would come get you after you died, they would just take you out back and bury you. And this went on for years. So that creates a very interesting recipe of a haunting out here. And you can feel it. It doesn't take very long to walk through this building and realize something is off. At the turn of the century, though, we had the two wings here now established. You would have the women's wing and the men's wing. And what's interesting about that is they had a set of rules. One rule that just comes right to mind is that you could not talk to the opposite sex. And if they caught, some of the women talking to the men, they would be put in their own jail cells. Each side had their own jail cell. And where I'm going to take you is what's left of the female's wing where the jail cell is. just down this hallway here. This would have been the women's wing, and then in this direction, the men's wing, right? Now, their jail cell on the men's side has been taken off, but fortunately, when the health department was here in the 80s and so, they didn't take that off, so you can actually still see it down here. So, 100 years back, each room would have had female residents inside it. Again, on those rules though, another one was if you didn't bathe regularly, you could be put in this jail cell. If you cussed, you had improper language, you were in the jail cell. Alcoholism was completely frowned upon. If you were caught with any kind of alcohol, boom, you're in here for 24 hours. That's what a newspaper article said. But here's the thing, how do you really enforce that? Do we know, like after 24 were you let out? But they said after the 24, if you still weren't cooperative, they would actually take you upstairs to the dungeon and they would chain you indefinitely. But this was the first start. When I first got this place, it was empty. A lot of rooms had nothing in it or was just filled with trash. We put this table in here and we noticed over time that people started putting offerings. That's the only thing I can imagine, because you've got money, something that we consider to be valuable, things like this, random objects, and it reminds me of like something you'd see in New Orleans, like Crossroads to the Dead. You see people putting coins on the tombstones, more of like out of respect. And most teams, as you guys know, when we walked in, I never asked you guys, hey, put some money down on the table. This is just people doing this on their own free will. And I think it's to increase communication. I've heard from locals saying that they knew when this place was at the turn of the century, they may have been keeping up to 14 women crammed in here at a time. So you can only imagine this isn't very good. Like, there's only 3 of us and it feels kind of like filled. Imagine 14 women that may have not even been insane, because they were taking people here that maybe your husband didn't like you, you were reading, you had your own opinion. That would end women up here. There is a very unfortunate story of a girl who was not even, I think, 15 or 16. She was pregnant, or her husband or the boyfriend or whatever sent her here while she was pregnant with child. She ends up having the child here, and for the next 60 years, she falls into a depression while she's here. I don't know what happened to the child, but she was sent here at that age and died in this facility. So this is where it gets into the dark stuff that always has bothered me, is that, you know, these walls have retained that kind of energy. People walk through here, they suddenly get sad for no reason. I think that's the building speaking back. You've got years and years of just depression put out, and it will speak to you. And you can kind of feel it sometimes in this room. I think a lot of people that were in here should not have been. If you didn't cooperate according to their code, maybe you yelled at them and said, I'm gonna continue drinking, I'm gonna cuss, I don't care. That's when they would remove you from this room and take you upstairs to the dungeon. Most people would think the dungeon is in the basement. Nope, historically known, they would have called this the dungeon. And I've heard this when I walk through with the building department, fire department. I've got some of these old guys here. They've been here for years. They knew the stories of this place because this was known as Lancaster's poorhouse. You would have had transients that came through town that, you know, maybe they're passing through, they need to make some money, they need a place to stay. They would be placed up here, all throughout here. So you could kind of imagine maybe some blankets, some cots laid out. You would be able to sleep here at night, but then you would have to work the 200 some acres of farmland that was out here. There is a superintendent, I believe roughly in the 40s, his last name was Hummel, and there are reports of him being very violent to the residents that were staying here. There was one newspaper article of him beating the residents outside. So as the locals were driving by on 37 here, they just see him beating on these people. And I use that story as a reference because if that's happening outside, what's happening within the walls, right? Yeah. You would have had all these people up here, but you also have some of your offenders being chained up to the wall just around the corner here. Now again, I almost had to call bullshit on the story because it just sounds too crazy. It's like something straight out of American Horror Story. When I was walking up here with the fire department, you know, we were just checking the system. This was back in 2020. I remember seeing those hooks, and the first thing I thought was, oh, those are the hooks where they used to keep the buckets of water, because before the fire suppression system was put in, you would have needed buckets of water in case there was a fire. And he looked right at me and he goes, no, those hooks are from way before any of our time periods here. These hooks are the hooks they would have been chaining people up to this wall. Now we put this chain here, but if you look at the hook and even the nails that go into it, you can't go to Lowe's and get this. This is one of those like weird squarish, like kind of peg nails. And you can see it going across the side here. Some have been ripped out and some are still here. What's eerie about this though, when the health department was here in the 80s, they were the ones that you see put these temporary walls up. There's another stairwell that goes down. But before they would have done this would have been an open stairwell going all the way down. And the reason I'm saying that is, if you have people chained up here, you know they're screaming. And if they're screaming, that's got to echo all the way through this building. You would just hear constant screaming, no doubt. That's what I can imagine. Just around the corner where we're going to go next is something that is dubbed the chicken coop. And we call that the chicken coop because the door we're going to go through has chicken wire on it. But historically known, that is where they used to keep some of the most mentally ill residents in that wing. It's just right around the corner here. It's easy to say that we are walking on a floor that's over 100 years old already. You can probably just tell. The wallpaper in here. This wall, now I'm not one of those people you see on one of those road shows that can tell you how old an item is, but I would speculate that the wallpaper around here is probably somewhere between 1840 and 1850. And here's something interesting from a paranormal standpoint. We've all heard of the theory stone tape theory, right? That stuff retains onto the brick, onto the wood and things like that. Well, here you go. You have something that the original wallpaper's here. It hasn't been painted over or anything like that. This is the same stuff they would have seen well over 100 years ago. And you can even tell from the sun and the water damage, you can see how it's like faded away. Like, this is old. When it comes to investigating, and we were talking about this prior, is that it is like fishing. We don't know what's going to come out per night. It's almost like every investigation is one page of a chapter. You know, I've heard stories from sensitive that walk in and can just feel the sadness. One story was from Rebecca Kirschbaum. I filmed with her, and very incredible, sensitive, and she started crying up here, and she said she felt a woman who had immigrated from Ireland. And it was this tragic story that she came here and somehow ended up here. But her main mission was to become this massive movie star in the 20s. That was her goal. Anyway, she ends up here, never gets out. She couldn't even get money or anything put together to tell her family that she was here back in Ireland. Now again, we don't know if that's true. That's just an imprint that came out, but I don't find it far-fetched. This facility is no different than Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, Penhurst State School. People were shipped here just for the wrong reasons. You know, you had your own opinions, things like that. The world was different 100 years back. So it isn't hard at all to envision what would have been happening in here. Right here, you have two body slabs. What I have been told is that, you know, as I said earlier, there's a stream that runs underneath the building. And at night, when you listen here, when it's really quiet, you can actually still hear that water coming through and then shooting in that direction, back towards the college. At one point though, there's a pipe in the wall here. Now this pipe would have been still feeding water. Water from that stream would have been coming down and going over these two slabs. And this was to keep the bodies chilled until they could bury them out back. So you would have that, you have a giant freezer to put bodies in, and then you had this is not from this building. This was actually given by some friends I have an hour away. What's cool about this is it leads into another weird theory of like, are we dealing with foreign hauntings or domestic hauntings, right? When you bring all these different items in, what's attached to this table? Because whatever's attached to it energy-wise is not from the infirmary. So it does add another level. And tonight, you guys feel free. You can lay on this table, you know, get the full experience. I have had many reports that when people are on the table, they put the blankets on top of them, they feel like it's being shook, they feel like they're being poked. Now again, it could be psychological, but that's something you want to try for yourself. So when they were burying some of the dead, remember there's a stream that actually comes over that hill and into the town. Actually, there's just a water hole just over there. Apparently, there were individuals that would take water from that stream and drink it, and they were being slowly poisoned by formaldehyde that was in the bodies of that hill. So that, I believe, dates back to the 20s, which is just another wild thing. But we could go on and on. It's a universe of itself. Every single room here has a story. This one especially, so.
I want to say 10 minutes of being in there. We were already hearing voices, hearing footsteps. It was very strange to walk in and almost immediately start getting activity. When we did our initial walkthrough of the entire property, up on the second floor, kind of towards the back, there's this room that has a ton of dolls in it. They set it up to be like a child's room. I don't think it was a child's room when the facility was in operation, but for some reason when I walked back there, by the time I got to the threshold of that room, it felt like something kicked me in the head. I just got a splitting headache immediately. I just naturally felt drawn to go there first when we started the investigation, just to see what was going on in there. So we set up a bunch of different devices. We're trying to establish contact with them, letting them know we're not a threat, we're just there to communicate. It was a very rough place when it was in operation, so I'm sure a lot of these spirits here are probably a bit timid or shy. So for a while, we weren't really getting anything. I almost don't even know how to begin tonight. Right? It's already been so eventful.
Yeah, so much has already happened.
Yeah, it's like, where do we begin with this? Well, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Mike.
I'm David.
My name is Matt.
And we're coming from Maryland. We've come to visit you tonight. We've heard a lot about this place. We heard that you're very interactive. And you like to talk to people, make yourself known. You've already been doing that quite a bit tonight. Been doing a really good job. We've laid out a bunch of different toys for you. They have lights. Some make noise. None of this stuff will hurt you in any way. It's just so that way we know you're here. If you interact with it, we can have a conversation. How was this place? Did you like it? Did they treat you okay? Just let it. Yeah, there it was. Well, that's good.
That's good to hear.
Yeah. Did you spend your whole life here? Wow.
Yeah. Did you pass away here?
Wow, instant.
Wow, that's crazy.
Look at that. It's really going now.
Did you die of natural causes? Did you have a type of disease?
What was really prominent around that time? Tuberculosis?
Yeah.
It just lit up and I said that. Did you have tuberculosis?
Did you have a child here?
Did you have a daughter or a son?
If it was a daughter, can you make that light up? Was it a son? was like a stillborn, or
Very well could have been.
maybe she had some kind of sickness or disease and passed on to the child. When the child was born, maybe the child didn't live long enough.
It just
I mean, it didn't specify a gender,
Yeah.
so
Might not have known. Might
no.
have been too early to tell. Or just,
maybe it was a stillborn.
yeah.
Mm.
Did it go? Did it
Yeah, it
start?
did. I'm really sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. Did you have a lot of friends here?
I keep hearing that. Whoa. It was really sad to see that device respond to that. Knowing that not only is this woman possibly here against her own will, but she lost her only child too. I wasn't a part of the tour when Adam took Matt and David through the building, so I completely missed the information about the woman who possibly had a child there.
There is a very unfortunate story of a girl who was not even, I think, 15 or 16. She was pregnant, or her husband or the boyfriend or whatever sent her here while she was pregnant with child. She ends up having the child here, and for the next 60 years, she falls into a depression while she's here. I don't know what happened to the child, but she was sent here at that age and died in this facility.
It wasn't until I went back into editing and I saw that and I put two and two together, and there's a possibility that we may have spoken to the woman who lived there her entire life and had a child there, and it would explain, her depression and her sadness, losing her only child in a place that she doesn't want to be. It's very heartbreaking. I feel like when you're dealing with energies like that, it's really hard to get some of them to come through and trust. I think that just being calm and introducing ourselves in a very non-confrontational way gave the energy there enough trust to share that sensitive information with us. As time went on, while we were sitting in there, I started to feel terrible. I'm feeling super nauseous all of a sudden.
I just saw the light behind you on the floor. Right in that corner.
So all three of us have gotten nauseous.
Yeah.
At this point.
And this is the same room when I came back here earlier in the day with Addie. Like before I walked in, I got right up to the threshold and it felt like something like kicked me in the head.
Oh jeez.
I got a crazy headache and I just felt like I shouldn't be in here. And then I walked away and I was fine, but I just had to sit down because I've just been feeling super nauseous for the last like two or 3 minutes. I said yes.
Wow.
Are you making me feel sick? Yeah, I legit feel like I'm about to puke. Wow.
No, I felt the same earlier. I felt like I got hit in the head with something.
I had to sit down on the third floor
Yeah.
because I just felt so nauseous. I was like, I just gotta sit down for a second.
That's how I'm feeling right now. Just like a sick feeling.
Yeah, I feel
Motion
like
sickness.
super uneasy. But no. Are you trying to make us experience the way you felt here? Were these like some of the side effects of tuberculosis or anything like that, or any other diseases that you may have had?
Or whatever medications they may have been giving you. Is this how they made you feel?
It started getting really hot.
That's what I'm saying, man. The longer we stay in this room, the worse I feel. I'll be try to come back in like 5 minutes or so. I need to sit down.
Yeah, do your thing, man. Get some air.
We already had very heavy feelings throughout the night,
And it just continued even more into that room. In that room, Mike had started feeling queasy and kind of nauseous and tired. So he went to go sit down. But at the same time, I was getting feelings of, I was just really hot, and it was in the 50s there. So it wasn't like it was a nice warm day, but I was burning up. On the third floor, we went into what we're calling the Murphy room because we've had reports of people hearing that name in that room. And in that hallway is the same hallway that earlier in the night I had to sit down because I just got a really nauseous feeling. And when we turn on the spirit box, it's just going crazy. I mean, it's got words coming through it that seem to be very clear, but there's so much that's coming through that it's hard to understand. But there were a few words that came through that were extremely clear. And there was that they can see us, and we can see them, and they can hear us.
I have a device here in my hand. It'll give you a voice, and you can communicate with us directly. Is that something you'd be interested in doing? Can you touch one of these lights we've laid out for you? If you'd like to talk to us.
That just went.
I just went in.
The K2?
This one went up to orange.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a Murphy here?
Murphy, is that your first name or last name? Can you tell us what your first name is? Sometimes I hear you.
That was a lot. That puts in the filter too. So.
Yeah. It was over a lot of sleeping.
Yeah. Freedom?
Can you see me?
Yeah, that's clear.
When we were up here earlier, I got a really nauseous feeling.
It sounded just like la-di-da.
When we were up here earlier, I got a really nauseous feeling. When we were up here earlier, I got a really nauseous feeling.
Literally la-di-da.
Was that you that made me feel sick out in the hallway?
Are there any non-human entities here? What the fuck?
It was nuts.
That was so loud.
Yeah.
I don't know if any of the mics picked that up, but
It sounded like it was coming from that way, but that was really loud.
Yeah, dude.
that just, like, every hair on my body is standing up right now.
Yeah.
This is one of those spirit box sessions where I just couldn't make out a whole lot of what was being said. You can hear a lot. It sounds like there's a lot of voices talking through the spirit box throughout almost the entire session, but it's just so much overlapping itself that it's really hard to make out coherent sentences. There were a few moments where we did hear things very clearly in the moment, but for the most part, I couldn't make out a lot of it. Sometimes we get rare, strange noises that come through the spirit box. You know, we got the retching spirit in Gettysburg on the spirit box. That was a first. I've never heard anything like that. That was extremely bizarre.
When we were up here earlier, I got a really nauseous feeling. So moving up to the attic, it's very dark in there. It's very creepy in there. You know, we've already heard the stories about the chains and people being chained up to the wall and the most mentally insane patients being held in the chicken coop area.
The attic probably made me feel the most uncomfortable out of every spot in that building. I don't know what it is about the energy up there. It's super heavy. It feels crowded. I didn't like being up there. It made me feel very unsettled the whole time that we were investigating up there. Even during the day, shooting B-roll, I didn't want to be up there. I'd like to start off by introducing myself. My name is Mike,
I'm David. I'm Matt.
and we've come a long way to come talk to you. Visit you here in your home. We don't mean to intrude or bother you or anything like that. We're just trying to learn a little bit more about this place. We're hoping we can learn it through you and the experiences that you've had here. If that's something you're willing to share with us, can you touch that cat toy again? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Were you here when they were chaining people up in the attic up here? Were you one of those people?
Did you know one of those people?
Were you not aware that they did that to people?
Were you good so you never got chained up?
Let's try an EVP.
Can you tell us the name of the person we're speaking to right now? At any point in time during your stay here, were you chained to the wall? Did you have any friends that got chained to the wall?
Dude, I'm like so drained all of a sudden.
We're 10, 15 minutes into filming up there, and I'm literally falling asleep on camera.
And I feel really bad up here. I don't think I can stay up here anymore. If you guys want to stay up here, please. I can't do it anymore. I'm sorry, guys.
No, you're good. You're good.
I feel like I'm about to throw up like right now if I don't leave.
You're good.
I'm gonna go back downstairs for a bit. Take a minute.
I'm not one to really walk away in the middle of an investigation. Whatever was up in that attic affected me in a way that I don't think I've ever experienced while investigating.
You know, we've been investigating a while now, and Mike doesn't do that. You know, we stick it out to the end, and it was very strange to see him do that and to affect him that way. It's just not, it's not like any other place that we've been.
My initial plan was to just go lay down on my cot for 10 or 20 minutes, just try to feel better. I ended up falling asleep. I was so drained, I was so out of it. Whatever's in there really was doing all that it could to wear me out because it won. I went to sleep, and Matt and David carried on with the investigation.
All right, everyone. Well, I'm going to start by introducing ourselves. My name's David.
My name is Matt.
We're just here this evening to communicate with you, hear some of your history and some of the building's history and anything else that you want to tell us. We've laid out some devices for you to use. We have this one right here where you can pick words. We have 2 green lights on the table and a red light. If you get closer to them, they'll light up different colors. None of this is intended to harm you in any way. It's just so that we can communicate better. Is there anyone here with us? Could you possibly touch one of those devices? Make them go off? We also have a few devices out in the hallway as well. Another one of these ones with the red light.
There's also a music box. If you walk in front of it, it'll play some music.
If someone's up here with us, can you possibly make a noise anywhere so that we can know that you're up here?
David and I have heard stories that this cell door moves on its own. Are you able to move that door for us? Open it?
Do you know Adam? Do you like what he's doing with this place?
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Was that like a girl or like a baby?
It sounded like a girl to me.
Yeah.
Like high pitched too.
Yeah.
Was that you that we just heard? Feel free to come a little bit closer and make that sound again.
Did you live here your whole life? What is your name? Sound like someone said Steven 2 times. Why are you still here? How on earth?
We would love to see that door open like we said earlier. You know, if you're outside there, could you just maybe open the door and come on in here and you can sit in this chair next to us?
Your cat. Your cat. Something about your cat. It sounds like cat.
I thought it said I want to play with, maybe I want to play with your cat.
I mean, I am totally a cat here. I know.
Oh, there's a cat.
Oh!
There's a cat.
You're welcome to play with the cat. Stuffed animal, feel free. That's for you. Someone brought that here for you.
So while we're in the cell, we really weren't getting too many hits or anything like that. We got a few knocks, but nothing that we could really verify. It just seemed like the night had kind of slowed down a little bit, or something maybe was holding the spirits back from speaking with us. But for some reason, it just seemed to just die down until we went back and reviewed the footage. So going into the morgue, we decided we wanted to do an Estes method in there. Not only because it's extra creepy, but I thought it'd be really cool to do on the embalming table that he has down there now. The whole time that I was under there, it felt like I was being touched on my legs, on my wrist, across my chest, hands running down my legs.
All right, going on there. All right, 10-4. Is anybody here with us right now? My name is Matt.
Please.
You can call me Matthew if that's easier for you. And that's David. He's over there. He's on the embalming table.
Help.
How can we help you? Were you treated okay here?
Get off.
Are you telling David to get off the embalming table?
Get up now.
He can't. Right now he's under. He's in the Estes. He's using that as a method to talk to you, and he's essentially a vessel for your voice right now. It's quite a stream that runs underneath this place. Do you guys like what Adam's doing?
More. There's water here.
There is. That also helps give you energy. It's a beautiful place here, though.
Here's something.
I'm listening. Are you out in the hall?
Something just knocked on the table. Up.
He can't get up yet. This is our way of communicating with you right now. He'll get up very soon, though, I promise.
Move.
He can't move yet. It's been pretty active here today. But as we've gotten later in the evening, it feels like it's gotten calmer. It kind of feels like something might be hindering you all from speaking.
Get out.
Or creating some sort of fear of speaking to us. Have no fear speaking to us.
Come on. You can leave.
Not ready to leave yet. We're actually going to spend the night here. We might actually go investigate another room after this.
You got it.
Yes, sir. Or ma'am, sorry. Were you born here?
Yes. See you.
Where are you? I'm looking for you. How long did you live here?
Doctor?
Were you a doctor or trying to become a doctor?
You are? Rude.
Not trying to be rude. Just trying to learn about you. Patiently, calmly.
Hello?
Right here, hello. You okay? Thank you for letting us take the time.
I feel like something's crawling on my leg right now.
Oh. Yeah, they're going after David. I like hardcore right now.
Fire.
Did something happen to you with the fire? Hey, that's not nice. That's rude. Y'all are calling me rude, but that's rude.
Beside you.
I feel you. You feeling okay?
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that. Thank you for letting us be here tonight. It's been a blast.
Hurry.
What is there to hurry about?
Bad.
What's bad?
Really bad.
What's really bad? Were you hurt really badly?
Over there. Him.
Who's he?
Him.
Who's
David.
What's going on with David? He did just have knee surgery, but he's recovering pretty well.
I just felt a knock on the table again.
Man, they're really messing with him.
I'd leave if I were him.
Why do I need to leave?
I think something just touched my foot.
You guys really don't like David being in there, don't you? That table isn't even from here.
Yeah, something definitely just touched my foot. Damn him. We'll kill him. Felt like something just grabbed my wrist this time.
Guys,
We're here.
please stop touching David.
Yeah, we are.
Hello? Please stop touching David.
Someone's running his hand down my leg. It feels like this is wild. Oof.
David's done a great job. Yeah, I can't do that.
Get him.
Do you have a message for one of us or a message for someone else
We like you.
that we can deliver for you? We like you too. We really do. It's been a blast being here, and thank you for your company.
Sound like a growl.
Who's growling? Who's the growler?
Do you see us?
Every now and then. It's really hard, but every now and then, yes. Where are you?
Worry.
I'm right here. I'm next to the morgue.
said, run and get me a Pop-Tart. Yeah.
Pop-Tarts are great. Can't lie, Pop-Tarts are good.
Good.
Yeah. Oh man, it's freezing down here right now. Are you changing the temperature as we speak?
It's cold.
It is very cold. Oh, he's awake. Michael is awake.
Hold on 1 second. David, get up.
Wow, you're making it very cold.
Mike's up.
He is. Good eye. Good eye.
It was great to finally experience Fairfield for myself. I've always wanted to go out here and investigate this place. I've heard countless stories about how active it is, the personal experiences, things like that. It was interesting. I will say that being affected the way that I was physically, it's just that was new to me. That's not something that I can say I've ever experienced while doing this.
So overall, our Fairfield trip was really amazing. Next time, obviously, I hope Mike doesn't get sick so we can investigate together more, because I love the energy that Mike brings to the table, and I think we have a good spiritual connection when it comes to doing these investigations, which is hard to find, and I think we get more information that way. But I'm really glad with the information that we did get. I just wish we could have heard it more in the live time. That way we could have communicated back at that instance. But there's always next time.